past week's fantasy football matchups across all 6 of my subscriber leagues. So, as you might know, this just concluded week 1 of the fantasy football playoffs, and that means that we have our first elimination rounds. Whether I was in the playoffs or not in the playoffs, all the games are in brackets now, except for one. So let's take a quick peek at how I did in week 1 of the playoffs. So first up, we're going to go over the ESPN leagues. The first ESPN league that I'm paying attention to is the subscriber league. Now, this is a league where I finished number 1 overall with a record of 10-4. So I was fortunate enough to have a first round bye. I didn't have to play anyone this past week. And with that, I'll still go over how my team did, because they did fairly well. I didn't set lineups in the leagues where I had a first round bye just because I knew it didn't really matter. I'm not playing anyone. The points don't count to anything at this point. But yeah, here it is. So my team in this subscriber league put up 135.24 points in week 15. I had Jaden Daniels starting, who put up 23.64 fantasy points. My starting running backs were James Cook and Rico Dowdle, who put up 26.3 and 14.9 each. So that was pretty good. Then I had Jamar Chase and Terry McLaurin as my starting wide receivers, who put up 18.4 and 26.3 points respectively. So through the first 5, they all performed pretty well. But this is where you can tell I wasn't paying attention. I had Evan Ingram in as my tight end, and he scored 0 points. I'm not even sure if he was. I think they ruled him out before the game. I got like a sleeper alert for it, but I knew that he wasn't. I checked the lineups for all the ones that mattered, and it didn't matter. And then in my flex position, I had Brian Robinson Jr., who scored 11.7 points. Then that all totals up to a total of 121.24 points just from my offensive players. When it comes to my bench, I had Isaiah Pacheco with 5.7, Brian Thomas Jr., who had 32.5. So in an ideal world, I play him over Brian Robinson Jr. Knowing that he was playing the Jets, I probably wouldn't have done that. I'm going to be very honest. I wasn't expecting that kind of performance. And Brian Robinson Jr. against the New Orleans Saints defense, I likely wouldn't have ever made that move. But you know, to keep in mind for the future. Then I've got Kamani Vidal with 4.2, Elijah Moore with 1.9, Will Disley, the other tight end on my roster, also not playing at 0 points, and then Will Levis with negative 4.44. So yeah, other than Brian Thomas Jr., not really any big snubs on that starting lineup. For my kicker, I had Jason Sanders, who made a short field goal, 1/50, and then and then he missed an extra point, so he finishes with a total of 7 points. And for my defense, I had 2. I definitely would have gone with this one. I had Commanders and I had Eagles. I started Commanders defense, who scored 7 points against the Saints. I also had Eagles defense, who scored 10 points against the Steelers, but I would have never actually played them. So altogether, that's how I got my 135.24. And yeah, that's pretty solid considering there's no tight end in play here. So I'm hoping that these guys can carry that momentum into this upcoming week. Now, for the second ESPN league, this is the YouTube league. A league in which I finished 2nd overall. So once again, with a record of 10-4, I was able to score a first round bye. And in this week, this is actually probably one of my best weeks ever in this league. I scored a total of 165.4 fantasy points in week 15, and that was with my starting quarterback Jalen Hurts, who scored 28.1 fantasy points. Then my starting running backs of James Cook and Aaron Jones, who scored 26.3 and 18.6 respectively. For my wide receivers, I had Amon-Ra St. Brown and DK Metcalf. Amon-Ra really carried in that department with 37.3 to DK Metcalf's 5.8. Then I had George Kittle with 10.1, one of the only good performances from the 49ers, fantasy-wise. And then Cortland Sutton in at my flex with 12.2 points. And then that all totals for 138.4. After that, I've got on my bench Deontay Johnson, who I believe was suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. So he put up 0. Geno Smith with 4.46. Bucky Irving with 13.3 fantasy points. Kareem Hunt, who had 5.9. Cade Otton, who had 4.4. And Isaac Guerrero with 11.5. And then for my kickers, I had Chris Boswell, who scored a total of 8 points by making one below 40-yarder, one 40 to 49-yarder, and one extra point. Then I had the Denver Broncos defense starting, and they scored 19 points against the Colts. A lot of mistakes by the Colts in that game. And then I also had Cardinals defense on the bench, who scored 5. So a pretty good week. Taking a look at my starting lineup, maybe I would have taken DK out. Probably not, even in the one league where I do have him. I want to say that I did play him, and he's kind of been lackluster, him and Debo. I have them both in one of my leagues, and they're both just very disappointing this season. A lot worse than I was expecting for. So DK probably will take him out going forward. Maybe plug in. I think what I have currently is Cortland Sutton in as my wide receiver 2, and then either Bucky Irving or Guerrero in at my flex. Just depends on the matchup. I think it's Guerrero at the moment. But yeah, that recaps the second league. Then the third ESPN league. This is the 1 through 10 league. The first of which it actually mattered for me. This is a league in which I finished 4th overall with a record of 8-6. So I was matched up against the 5th overall finisher, who also had an 8-6 record. And this is one of the better, not even better, one of the best fantasy names that I had across the 6 leagues this season. This team is named My Neighbors Like My Penix. A+ creativity, especially with Michael Penix Jr. just being named the starter for Atlanta. I think that this is, very fitting now, if ever. So yeah, I went toe-to-toe with MNLMB, and I was able to luckily walk away victorious with a final score of 147.2 against 110.48. So I will be advancing into the next round. As for my team, I had a starting roster of Jalen Hurts with 28.1, Derrick Henry with 6.7, one of his worst games actually, Rico Dowdle 14.9 points, Devontae Adams, who absolutely blew up with 42.8 in this week, Cortland Sutton with 12.2, Cade Otton with 4.4, Brees Hall with 13.1, Broncos defense with 19 points, and Jake Bates who had 6 points. So as you can see, my team didn't do exceptionally well. It's just Jalen Hurts, Devontae Adams, and Broncos defense that really outperformed their totals. Everyone else was at or decently below, but the Devontae Adams breakout game was nice. And I really did need it because my neighbors like my Penix was running with Josh Allen, who had 41.28 points, Bijan Robinson with 14.5, Javonte Williams, who only scored 4.3, but then Zay Flowers with 11.3, Keenan Allen with 20.2, George Kittle with 10.1, DK Metcalf with 5.8, Jets defense with 3 points, and Evan McPherson with 0 points. Is Evan McPherson, is he still playing? He's on injured reserve since. Okay, well, maybe my neighbors like my Penix has not been keeping track of that. So, say he had a better defense and he had a better kicker. An average defense will give you 8, and an average kicker also maybe give you 8. That's 15 points right there. So let's say he's at 125. On his bench, he had Travis Etienne Jr. with 12.5. Michael Pittman with 9.8. Okay, so realistically, I don't think there's any way I would have lost this. On my bench, I didn't have anyone that impressive. Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts, Jordan Love, Tucker Kraft, Nate Bigsby, Sincere McCormick, and MVS. I probably couldn't have done anything else. Let's say that Javonte Williams had been swapped for Travis Etienne. That's 8 more points. It could have been closer, but I think at the end of the day, it was my team just did really well this week. One of my better performances. I want to say across week 15, my teams tended to do better than average. Just across all 6 leagues, so pretty happy for that. And yeah, so I will be advancing next to the next round in the 1 through 10 league. Next, I have this is the Ring Watch League. It's an 8-person league in which I finished 7th, so I'm in the loser bracket with A-Rod's Achilles, who finished 8th. We both had records of 5 and 9 this season, and the funny thing is 6 teams make the playoffs, so while the other teams play each other and figure out who's going to win, me and A-Rod's Achilles will just be battling each other 3 weeks in a row, which is neat. And so in the first of our 3 matchups, I was able to get the best of A-Rod with 138.04 fantasy points to his 108.92. In this league, I've got Jaden Daniels, starting quarterback, with 23.64, James Cook with 26.3, Brian Robinson Jr. with 11.7, Cooper Kupp, who had, I believe it was like the most miles run in an NFL game without a single catch, or without like a single recordable stat. He had no rushing yards, he had no catches, so he put up 0 points in fantasy, and he ran something like 4.6 miles, which is the most ever in a Tony Snell game. Is what they call that. Tony Snell is a basketball player who has been made fun of in the past because he went out and played like 28 minutes of basketball and didn't record a single stat, so people just say he was out there doing cardio. That's essentially what Cooper Kupp was doing. I mean, I'm sure he was doing some great blocking as well, but nothing measurable in a fantasy perspective. Anywho, after that, I had Drake London with 14.3, Brock Bowers with 6.5, CeeDee Lamb with 26.6, Broncos defense with 19, and Jake Elliott with 10. So that brings me to a total of 138.04. On my bench, I had Marvin Harrison Jr. with 5.2, Kyler Murray with 10.6, Kenneth Walker, who didn't play, Bucky Irving with 13.3, Devontae Smith with 28 points, DJ Hawk with 10.2, and Cardinals defense with 5 points. Yeah, there's no way of knowing that Cooper Kupp is going to drop in goose egg and Devontae Smith is going to have 28, so yeah, technically I could have had 28 more points. I could have put up 166, but there's no reality in which I would have done that. I think I don't really ever play Devontae Smith when you've got Cooper Kupp, Drake London, CeeDee Lamb. Why would you ever play Devontae Smith? This is why I don't like 8-person leagues. And then A-Rod's Achilles had Russell Wilson with 8.42, Kareem Hunt with 5.9, Travis Etienne Jr. with 12.5, Jamar Chase with 18.4, JSN with 18.3, Kyle Pitts with 6.8, Xavier Worthy with 19.6, Eagles defense with 10, Younghoe Koo with 9. Oh, that's kind of crazy. I feel like his team is pretty nice in some ways, except for running backs. The starting running back roster is crazy. Definitely in the wide receiver if you have a 1-2 punch of Jamar and JSN. And then on the bench he has Jonathan Taylor and Joe Mixon, who both had pretty lousy weeks, so it's not like it would have helped them all that much. And then Saints defense. Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Likely. Jeez, one sec. I drank a smoothie earlier and it's like attacking me for some reason. leagues on IR. Yeah, I don't think there's much that A-Rod could do either. Let's say you swapped in JT and Joe Mixon, that's 20.7 points instead of his. Oh well, no, Travis Etienne was doing pretty well. So let's say he puts in Joe Mixon, that's another 4.5, 5. Yeah, this one was pretty locked, set in stone. So I'll take that. I mean, there's nothing. We're competing for nothing. We're just shooting each other for no reason at this point, but a win's a win, I'll take it. Anyhow, with that, we have recapped all 4 of the ESPN leagues. We can move into the 2 sleeper leagues. So, the first of these 2 is going to be the Double Up League. This is a 12-team PPR league in which I finished with the number 1 overall seed, meaning I didn't have to play anyone. I got a first-round bye, and my team did alright. I will say that I did not set my lineup, so I had a lot of injured people in, and so I scored 115.42 points. And my starting lineup was Baker Mayfield, who scored 29.02, Alvin Kamara, who had 17 points, Isaac Guerrero with 11.5, Brandon Cooks with 6.4, Marvin Harrison Jr. with 5.2, David Njoku with no points because he didn't play, Evan Ingram with 0 points because he is on IR, James Cook with 26.3, then Jake Elliott with 10 points, and New Orleans defense with 10 points. On my bench, I had Jaden Daniels, who, I don't know, I feel like Baker has been balling. I don't know if I would have actually left him in against the Chargers. That I think was just carryover from the previous week when Jaden Daniels was on bye. So, in all honesty, no, I probably would have swapped him out for Daniels, and that's like 5.5 points lost there. But I also had Brees Hall and Ladd McConkey, and those 2 guys would have for sure played. And I probably do put in Denver defense, who scored 22. So with that, I would have scored 12 more on defense. Brees Hall in for Evan Ingram, that would give me another 13. So that's 25. And then if I take out Brandon Cooks and put in Ladd McConkey, that's another 10. So 35 more points on my, what was it, 115? Yeah, that's 150. Oh, and then I have to subtract 6 for Baker. So yeah, 144. Also pretty above average. But it doesn't matter because I wasn't playing anyone, so I just move on into round 2. And then finally, the last league. This is the Chaos League. I'm playing in the loser bracket for this one, the consolation bracket. This is a 14-team. This is a 14-team Superflex PPR, and I finished. What was it? 9th? I think 9th of 14 with 7-7 record. So in week 1, I got matched up against Team Aribu, and Team Aribu finished with a 5-9 record, and I will be moving forward into the next round of the consolation bracket. I was able to win 130.56 to 297.36. In this week, I had Jalen Hurts with 28.1, Rico Dowdle with 14.9, Devon Achane with 14.6, DK Metcalf with 5.8, DeAndre Hopkins with 8.6, Cade Otton with 4.4, Brian Robinson Jr. with 11.7, Geno Smith with 5.46, Tyler Bass with 15 points, Denver Broncos defense with 22 points, and then on my bench, Jeremy McNichols, Devon Valet, Deebo Samuel, Deontay Johnson, Jake Ferguson, and New Orleans Saints defense. So, as far as starters go, I played all the right people. And then, Team Aribu had Patrick Mahomes, 15.76, Jahmyr Gibbs with 28.4, Bucky Irving with 13.3, Calvin Ridley with 9, but then Jalen Waddle, who got hurt and finished with 0 points, Dalton Kincaid with 9.3, Derrick Henry with 6.7, Nini Westbrook Ikine, I don't know, Nick Westbrook Ikine. Sorry, I don't know why, I thought his first name was Nini. But yeah, the guy from the Titans Antonio Gibson instead of Derrick Henry, then they could have gotten 1.5 more points. And then Roma Dunze instead of Jalen Waddle, that would have been 5 more. Yeah, and then maybe like 3, maybe another for Nick Westbrook, Ikine, if they swap them out. In total, there's like 10 points on their bench. I don't think there's much that could have been done. So, yeah, I move forward in that league. Not really, I move further down. I don't know how you describe a consolation bracket, but I guess I can be the best of the worst teams, which is something I'll try. But yeah, that's how I did. Across the 6 leagues, I basically had 3 bye weeks, and I won in the 3 other leagues, so this is probably my best week of fantasy since like week 2. I think week 2 I went a perfect 6-0, and that never happened again, so pretty nice. My teams showed out for week 1 of the fantasy football playoffs. I hope yours did as well. Just for a quick peek ahead at my 6 leagues, let's see. I am currently in the subscriber league. I'm going to be playing in round 2 against Team Neat. This is in 8-6, 5th place finisher. I'm currently projected to win with a total score of 123.5 to 120.8. Their notable starters, or their starters are Sam Darnold, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tyrone Tracy, Garrett Wilson, Adam Thielen, Travis Kelce, Jaden Reed, Packers, Kyrie Fairbairn, could be bad. Show bench. They also have Bo Nix, Michael Pittman Jr., Nick Westbrook, Akine, Brendan Strange, okay, Amir Abdullah, Jalen McMillan. So yeah, Team Neat is the team that had the most, I think, waiver wire moves of any team in any league. So seeing Brendan Strange and Jalen McMillan and Amir Abdullah, this guy is still on top of it. He's going to be a tough opponent for me to beat. We'll see. My average weekly output is 121.26. His average weekly is 119.49. It's a difference of about 2 points. We'll have to see. Right now I have Stone Smart in at tight end. I need to figure out other tight ends possibly. I just picked up what was there. I think I tried to get Brendan Strange and he had a better waiver wire ranking than I did. So, we'll see. In our previous matchup in week 4, Team Neat did get the best of me, 128.9 to 115.42. So, it's time for me to dish it back. Anywho, in the next league, this is the YouTube league, I will be playing Team Second Breakfast. So, I'm at 10-4 with the second overall seed. Second Breakfast is 10-4, the third overall seed. They are projected to beat me 138.9 to 130.1. They've got Jared Goff, Devon Achane, James Conner, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Jake Ferguson, JSN, Vikings defense, Chase McLaughlin. Okay. Wide receivers absolutely stacked. Running backs, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, Devon Achane is good, but James Conner, I think that they're overinflating his price because of how he did last week. And Jared Goff is pretty hot at times. He put up a lot last week. This could be an L. Hopefully not, but this definitely could be an L. Jake Ferguson, I'm not too worried about, but we'll definitely have to see. Yeah, that one's looking a bit tough. Anywho, then we move into the 1-10 league, 1 through 10 league, and this week I will be playing Team Drew Preem, who is the first overall finisher in the league, and right now I'm actually projected to win 123.5 to 117.6, which I'll take for sure. Their roster is looking like Bo Nix, Joe Mixon, Brian Robinson Jr., Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, David Njoku, Ramondre Stevenson, Bills defense, and Jason Sanders. And then on the bench they've got Brian Thomas Jr., JSN, Marvin because I have my roster set up and he does not. If he has this roster set up, he might be favored. And yeah, this is another league where I have to figure out my tight end situation. Kate Otten hasn't really been that great as of late. Cobbins isn't too good. Gonna have to do some research. Maybe get a new tight end in every league, except for the one where I have George Kittle. And yeah, and then in the ring watch, I'm playing Heroes Achilles, so we'll leave that be. In Double Up League this week, I'm going to be playing Team Josh Cameron. Or sorry. My bad. That is the @ user. Sorry. Anyway, I'm going to be playing my Young Wei Koo. And currently projected to win 134.63 to 130.25 by a small margin, but they've got a very good team. Josh Allen, James Conner, Jahmyr Gibbs, Deebo Samuel was ass, Jaden Reed, George Kittle, Jacoby Myers, Rico Dowdle, Young Wei Koo, Ravens defense, and then no one that impressive on their bench. But yeah, that's a heck of a starting lineup. I will have to figure out. I think my biggest decision in this league is figuring out if I should play Jaden Daniels against Philly or leave in Baker Mayfield. I mean, Baker has been good. Baker has been pretty solidly good. That is my phone over there. Hopefully I do not get another text. If I do, I might have to go over it. Yeah, like Baker in his last 4 games. Okay, in 3 of his last 4 games, he's been kind of balling. Might just leave him in, because I feel like Dallas is more of a porous defense than Philly. And then in the Chaos League, I am going against J-Ball, Carolina Panthers. Sorry, I keep looking at the handle instead of the team name. But yeah, this is one where I think that Carolina Panthers has not checked their roster. I am predicted to win by a decent amount. 124.09 to 98.93. They've got Bryce Young, DeAndre Swift, Christian McCaffrey. Okay, yeah. Malik Neighbors, Puka, Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers, Michael Pittman, Young Wei Koo in KC defense with Zach Charbonnet on the bench. And yeah, no one else really. So yeah, this is someone who isn't checking their team, so hopefully I don't lose. But yeah, with that concludes the Week 15 / Week 1 of the Fantasy Playoffs recap. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy content like this, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be putting out more videos of this nature as the weeks go on. I think I'm going to do a pretty big push over the next couple weeks. I think there's going to be a lot more videos because I have a lot more time on my hands with winter break. So, fingers crossed, hopefully that goes well. But yeah, as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.